Hello, so there's actually finally somebody on, because it's been a minute, or it's been counting up and nobody's been on. Evening. I probably won't keep all this gear on for the entirety of the stream, but... Oh, it's earlier than I usually do, but it's not early. It's 6 PM UK time. No, I've got no interest in Battle Royale games. Weird French riot police armour, like old issue stuff. Yeah, well, not an actual riot helmet on, because I've not got the visor for it, but I thought I'd do it with the mask on and everything, just so it looks a bit more interesting. Yeah, if you get one that's still sealed, I'll see if it's been open for ages. Like this one, it's not going to work. No, I've not played Metro Exodus and I've got no plans to do it. I was literally asked that 10 seconds ago, French riot armour. About 100. I don't actually have a total number now. Until I see something like that demonstrated, I'm not really all that interested. There's the computer radiator making a noise. That's completely impossible to stop that making a noise. The FM12 is very good, better than this mask. That's a foul. FM12 over the S10. Put my phone on silent when I'm doing the stream so it won't keep buzzing all the time. Just undo the strap on the helmet so it's a bit easier to talk with the mask on. The Forshida one. I did one video today, Mike. It was one on well, I set out to do one video and I sort of did it, and then something weird happened. And I don't want to spoil it, but originally the video started out where I'd been asked before by a user, can you put 40mm filters or whatever on a Soviet PBF? I was filming that video and then something weird happened, so I sort of turned the video into more about the weird thing that happened. Most annoying question is the ones in the FAQ when people ask them over and over and over again. I've got a Discord for patrons, as in people who support me and pay me money, not for regular people. A Soviet PMG2 or a GP5M, it's got two names, but it's the exact same mask. Basically the GP5 with a voice diaphragm on the nose. Don't know if this will come off. No, I'm not going to do it and risk ripping the mask. But basically that unscrews and it's got a voice diaphragm under there. Yeah. No, I've still got a Discord. If you want me to double check for you, I can double check right now and prove it still exists. Oh, what a surprise, the Discord is still there. Already said several times it's weird old French riot armour. I'm going to film a video on it tomorrow, hopefully. I've done videos on machetes before. All of it's from eBay for the most part. The mask's the most uncomfortable thing in a lot I'm wearing right now. So I'll tell you what, let's take the mask off. Then we'll put the helmet back on. I'll actually do the strap up properly on the helmet if I do it without the mask on underneath it as well. Right, there we go. Right, let's go back to the chat. Although this is one of those annoying helmet straps, I can never seem to get adjusted quite right because it doesn't seem to adjust the same on either end. Now, if you look on my channel, you'll notice I've reviewed American gas mask, yeah. I'll search Stalker 2 art, but I don't know if it's obviously going to be an official thing saying that, because there's lots of the time when people say like artwork for these games and it's just random pictures people have drawn. The one from the site looks a bit like a the modern version of the PMK, whatever that's called. Yeah, it looks like the PMKS to me, the one in the picture. I don't know, because for whatever reason they decided they wanted to make it orange. All the modern riot armour has black sort of pads, but this one's got orange for some reason. I really don't know why. Well, this ring, it's just simply so you loop the strap through it to do it up. Most helmets have something similar. Alright, you're getting a timeout for that. Just simply for the fact you're constantly asking me, have I done videos without searching for it? Because you'll find the answer is yes in all cases. I don't know, maybe something in a museum or something like that. It's hard to say really what it would be. Because it'd have to be something that's both interesting enough to do and not really very stressful. I don't think Dragon Skin ever went out of the prototype phase, so you'd have to look up the official reports. From what I've heard of it, it was very good on the actual plates itself, but there was lots of vulnerabilities between the actual armoured plates. Again, I'm not an expert because I've never actually had any experience of it myself. If you want to buy a full plate carrier, that's normally very, very expensive. What you need to do, I've got a British one on the way, but it's without the plates in, is do what I'm doing. Buy the actual plate carrier itself without any of the bits in it, and then see if you can source like the Kevlar sheets and the plates separately for not very much. Because generally if they're sold as complete packages, they are very expensive. Just mostly because they're cheap, really, compared to lots of other surplus. Thatcher has an S10 or an SF10. Which R6 do you mean, Siege? Because there's a lot of Rainbow Six games, but I don't play it anymore, just because I got a bit annoyed with all the updates they did to it. Because it's a hobby and it's fun to do, Tyler. Not much more to it than that. Right, don't forget to like the stream, everybody, as Weapon Collector says. I'll have a look and see if I can see how many people have liked it and everything so far. Also, don't forget there is merch down below, so if you're interested, look at that, because lots of people requested the GP5 shirts and mugs, and now nobody's actually bought one since they've been done, so that's a bit irritating, to be honest. No, I don't have any drones. I live quite near an airfield as well, so it wouldn't be a very good idea for me to fly drones near my house. Because I'm not a dickhead who thinks that's a funny idea to do that. Right, it says there's currently 28 people watching and 24 views, which means some of the people watching haven't left a like yet, so why don't you leave a like just to see if it boosts the amount of people coming into the stream. Will be an interesting experiment, actually. Well, the PMG isn't a brilliant mask, it's not an awful mask, but for, yeah, like £7.50, that's fine. Right, cool. Yeah, it's just, it generally seems the more people that like the stream, even if it's actually a dislike, either likes or dislikes, obviously likes are more preferable to dislikes at my end, actually shares it a bit more because it's viewed as interactions by YouTube. So having more engagement in the forms of likes or dislikes actually seems that they send the stream out to more of my viewers, whereas the problem is, you know, what was I going to say? The problem is when a lot of people watch it but they don't seem to like or dislike or whatever, seems to be that it doesn't send out the notifications to all my subscribers. There is a GP5, I already said. Look in the merch stuff below. There's GP5 mug shirts that my friend's drawn the design on. No, I don't have any patches for it. I'm tempted to maybe get something Velcro to stick on there at some point. But I've got a helmet cover that I normally wear on. I've got the cover in here. I won't bother putting the helmet cover on at the moment, but for this helmet I've got a Flex-On cover, and it's got a scrim net sort of tied through the cover, so you know, that acts as the actual camo for it. If I was to take it out, it's camouflaged and it breaks up the shape of the helmet a bit more by having the scrim net tied into the camo. But yeah, for when I like do it on streams, I like just having it on the plane. I don't like the idea of imitating actual servicemen though, so I wouldn't want an actual like SAS patch or anything like that. Yeah, but why would I sell actual GP5s? You can buy GP5s from surplus sellers. I don't really know. I like Ganzo knives, but there's quite a lot of knives I like, but I don't buy particularly expensive knives, which I've probably gone into quite a few times. Sword brand is really specific. I like windlass steelcraft for like mass-produced cheap swords, but getting an actual smith to make a custom-made blade for you is always a better option. So yeah, it really depends, because there's lots of different brands I like of pocket knives, but, you know, there's lots and lots of brands I would actually say are good in that scenario, you know. Yeah, that'd be a good idea, Richard. Yeah, getting like one of the shooting targets and then cutting it to size or whatever to fit in a plate carrier. Right, basically what I'm doing with the premieres is I was doing that to see if more people would watch them because they'd actually know when the videos are coming out. Because I always say I do videos at Wednesday, Friday, Sunday at 5 PM. But a lot of people still don't seem to, still keep going, but when do your videos come out? And what videos are coming up? So I thought that way people can actually see what I'm doing with the upcoming videos. But what I'm going to do is as soon as I get into, I think it's April. No, not. We're in April, aren't we? Probably May. Okay, so with the premieres, the last of the premieres at the moment is for May the 1st. So what I'm going to do is when we get to the end of April, I'm going to do it from every week going forwards, because I think people might like the idea of this a bit more. Is what I'm going to do is actually set it so it has like this week's videos coming up on Premiere, and then when that week ends I'll do the next 3 videos on Premiere. So that way it's not going to spam people's sub boxes or whatever, but they'll know what the next 3 videos are, if that makes sense. British Army gas masks are normally in size 1 to 3 or size 1 to 4 depending on the model of the mask. And depending on which mask it is, that could be small, medium, large, or large, medium, small. Yeah, well, the thing is I have to actually get somebody to physically draw them out. So I obviously can't get every single design done at once. That's the problem. It's going to be sort of every week, maybe getting a new design up. And the thing is, that's what I was saying, is lots of people said to me, could I get a GP5 design put up, because they wanted a GP5 design, since that's been up for about a week now and nobody's bought one, which, is the thing that's a bit annoying. Don't request something you don't want. I wouldn't care if I'd have just put that up, asked Bart to draw it, and then nobody bought it. But it's the fact loads and loads of people are going to me in the comments, oh, I'm not interested in a GSR one, but can you do a GP5 one? And as soon as the GP5 one's out, nobody's interested, apparently. I've got an MC1, yeah, I've done several videos on the MC1. Well, if you have the regular Kevlar panels in a jacket as well, that would obviously, in a plate carrier, that would help, because if you've got bits of splintering or whatever coming off, that's what the Kevlar's designed to stop. Yeah, I'm waiting at least, Mike, for my mug to arrive, because I've ordered from Teespring one of the Mark V's mugs, so I can have that in the stream for drinking from. And then what I'll do is, when I've got the Mark V mug that I can actually drink from, I'll make sure I do a video with that in the thing, and then I'll go over some of the stuff, and I'll show what the Teespring store looks like from the front and everything. Yeah, because and as I said, when Bart's got his poster design finished, I'm going to have the poster up there in that gap, just underneath where you can only see a little bit at the end field where I've got the camera set up at the minute. Let's put my chair a little bit further forwards and put that up ever so slightly. There we go. So yeah, the poster is going to go almost where my head is at the moment, below the Enfield and next to the SLR. When he's got one of the poster designs done up, that way at least there's going to always permanently be a kind of a bit of merch in the background. No, I don't have any Italian masks, sadly. I've wanted to get Italian masks, it's just I've never seen any on eBay when I've looked, or if they have turned up, they've been very expensive compared to other surplus masks. No, I don't have any RPGs. Other than role-playing games, I don't have any actual, like RPG launchers or anything, because deactivated RPG launchers are normally like close to £1,000, and I wouldn't pay that for one of those. If I was going to get an RPG type thing, I'd probably just buy a generic anti-tank tube, because there's lots of different, obviously, types of anti-tank weapons, and some deactivated launchers are like £100 to £200 for like the missile tube, where others like RPGs often end up being a lot more expensive. MUA is absolutely fine. I really like the design of the SHMS, but getting an FP5 filter is actually good, because at least with the FP5 filter, you've got a working filter.
Yeah, well, what I'm doing is when my plate carrier arrives, which should be tomorrow or Friday, I've got a British Army Osprey, like current Osprey MTP one with all the, you know, like the zip-up pouches, which is one of the reasons I wanted it. I can then, you know, have a look at the carrier, work out what size things I'm going to fit in it, because I don't want to do that until I've got the carrier, because I need to kind of measure the pouches. But the first stage is getting the carrier itself, then it's sourcing the armour to go in it, basically. Because, like I said, I've always preferred soft body armour to plate carriers, just simply for the fact that soft body armour is a lot more flexible. But in this plate carrier, if I didn't want to, won't have to actually put, you know, hard plates in there. I could just have like level 3A Kevlar, which isn't going to protect you from rifle rounds, but it's better than nothing. Well, Panzerfaust and Panzerschreck are the like German anti-tank launchers, aren't they, of World War II? The Panzerfaust's the one closer to the RPG, isn't it? Whereas the Panzerschreck kind of looks a bit more like a bazooka. Polish MC1 masks are absolutely fine for what they are. They're not high-end masks by any means, but they'll still survive for an hour in sodium hydroxide. Evidently, I'm not in the US Army. Because firstly, I'm not American, and I'm not in any sort of army. I can show you what the time is on my end. There you go, look, it's about 6:23. I have two Finnish gas masks, so technically three. I have a Finnish M39 mask from World War II, and a Finnish M61V2 and a Finnish M61V3. Well, regular armour wouldn't stop an RPG if that's what you're on about. That's cool, Alex. Cool, but this is a real one, Peach. This is the, you can get for about £30 on eBay, £30 to £50 range, the Armed Police. That's easiest because the Armed Police actually have better helmets than the British Army. So they're called Commando Helmets, but it's basically a Pascut, but the liner's actually better than the Pascut. And I don't know if the label will be visible at all on the camera. Let's see if I can arrange that in a way you can read the label. There you go, see, it's a 3A Kevlar helmet. This one's from 2006. And like most of these helmets, they have to do a thing like every 5 to 10 years, they have to just retire them because of Kevlar rules. The ones I find more strange are the time zones that are like 30 minutes apart. Like, I can completely understand having time zones, like why you'd have time zones, but what I can never understand is where some places have time zones that are like 30 minutes apart from the time zone next door to them, and then, you know, it's suddenly another 30 minutes when you go further to, like, east or whatever. I think it's simpler just to have a time zone that, you know, once you go further east, you jump a full hour, because otherwise, really, you should have like 5-minute increments, shouldn't you, for every however many miles you went east or whatever. Doesn't make any sense, to be honest, having like the weird in-between time zones. Right, Kiki, Kiki Pizza, right. The helmet is the British Armed Police variant of a Pascut, basically. So it looks a kind of bit like a German Stahlhelm, as you can see. Like that, shape-wise, it's like the Stahlhelm shape that the Pascut's pretty famous for kind of copying. So that's a Kevlar 3A helmet. In terms of body armour, I've got on my British Police Level 2 Kevlar vest with stab protection, and this weird French riot armour, like sleeve thing, that I found on eBay the other week. Because that stuff's really weird, so yeah. I'm going to do a video tomorrow where I get hit while wearing this, and we're going to test if it absorbs the impacts very well. This one, because Pascut designs are really good, and all this is just, you know, a Pascut that has a decent liner in it, and they don't cost too much. I haven't got any fake gas masks. The closest thing you could say to a fake gas mask I have is that PH gas hood. Yeah, I've got a US steel pot. Well, it's not actually US though. I've got basically the M1 helmet, but I think it's a Norwegian one. I'm trying to remember now. It's either a Norwegian or a Danish one, because there was lots of nations that basically built them under license or just made copies of the M1 helmets. And it's one of those. I think it's a licensed copy. There's the mask. I was wearing it for the start of the video, but I'm not putting it back on because then I'd have to take the helmet off, put the mask back on, and everything. And this is in a size 2, where ideally I'd want the size 3 with these masks, because size 3 is a bit more comfortable for me, especially if I'm talking, because otherwise it's pushing on my jaw a bit. Yeah, I've shot helmets with air rifles. There's quite a few videos I've done that. Nothing really happens because helmets like this are a lot tougher. You know, helmets like this that are Kevlar or even steel pot helmets, you're never going to get through them with an air rifle, considering they can stop certain, you know, like pistol rounds and things like that. What do you mean, like the Kevlar style, not Kevlar, the titanium style Russian helmets? They're very cool. There's also Swiss helmets that are very similar as well, but good luck getting one for a decent price that's a genuine one online. Oh, I think thermoplastic style helmets are very interesting exotic range, but I've not actually obviously got one. They're definitely going to replace Kevlar at some point in the next 5 to 10 years, I should think, in a lot of militaries when they adopt them. Because, you know, they can make something lighter that offers better protection, but, you know, it's at the moment it's waiting for the kind of, I guess, either production or like people willing to use them to catch up with the technology. Because we've now got the technology to make those, it's just a lot of places haven't embraced it yet. Now, you might want to ask Mike for EDCing stuff. I mean, what I just do is EDC practical things like a pen, a good tactical pen, because they're tough, and, you know, it's good to always have a pen on you. Some sort of EDC knife a lot of the time. Stuff like painkillers, like this is just paracetamol, but depends if you're somebody who has like illnesses that you need painkillers, but really depends, to be honest. And it depends. If you smoke, then you're going to want to EDC. You're more likely to want to EDC a lighter and cigarettes, aren't you, than somebody who doesn't smoke. I've done lots of videos recommending different masks. Both those rifles are British. One's the Lee Enfield, one's a British version of the FN FAL DSLR. Yep, the Chinese hoses, as in the TF1 tube, that's what I'm assuming you're asking. Chinese hoses do fit on GP5s, yeah. Another thing to think about EDCing is, if it's something that you want to carry, make sure you get something that's light and convenient enough that you're going to remember to carry it and not be annoyed with carrying it. Because lots of EDC stuff, if it ends up being too heavy or too bulky or whatever, you're not going to end up carrying it, which defeats the point of having it for EDC. So, you know, that's something to bear in mind as well. If you're looking at various things to EDC, I'd say go for the one that's going to fit in the pocket the most easily, you know, you're not going to lose it and stuff like that. There were things like the hypo hood before it, and then the Russians in World War One had like a helmet-style hood mask. The Zelensky or Kumat, or whatever it's called, I can't remember its name without looking it up, but for the most part, most World War One masks were like the canvas or leathery kind of ones with straps. Not loads is up at the moment. I'll just do the shilling for likes thing again. So at the moment, there is apparently 34 odd people watching it, and I've got 31 likes. So if you want to like the video or dislike the video, please go ahead, because that gives me interactions. Oh, it's just jumped up to 38, so that might be everybody currently watching who's either given a like or a dislike. Hard to tell. But yeah. And as said earlier, I've got merch down below, so if you wanted a GP5 or like a Mark 5 gas mask illustration on a mug or a t-shirt or a hoodie or something, have a look down there. I don't even know what 511 is. I'm assuming it's a brand, isn't it? I don't think we really get it over here. Alright, see ya. Right, basically, in my car I keep a mask with filters at all times, just because it's convenient that you can put one in a satchel in the car and leave it there and not have to think about it. I don't carry one around with me all the time, though, if that's what you mean. Like, if I go out for a walk, I won't have one on me. Obviously, there's ones in kits ready to go in the house, but that's because I've got so many I can set them up like that. But if I was out and about, I'd have to get back to my car or whatever. Or the house. I don't normally have like one on the satchel on me at all times unless I've got a particular reason for needing it, like I'm going to film a video with it. Right, I'm glad you think I'm nice. I try and be polite to everybody. I'm not generally very polite to trolls, but you know, in general I try not to annoy people. No, sadly there's nothing near me Soviet films that could be good for bugging out, just because of how, you know, populated the UK is and that. There's a couple of places I could actually go, but I imagine other people would turn up there, that's the problem. No, sadly I don't have an M3. I've got the M1 and the M2, the Yugoslav and Serbian M1 and M2 masks, but I do not have the M3, which is like the M40 style one. No, I don't have an L85. Wouldn't really want one either unless it was really cheap, considering how bad the reputation for that rifle is. Yeah, I've got a first aid kit in my boot as well, Mike, as well as things like, you know, like emergency repair kit, spare wheel and stuff like that. The weird thing is my car is actually better set up for a lot of stuff than I am, you know, in person. So, for example, in my car I have a cold weather coat at all times in the boot. I have a raincoat at all times in the boot. You know, there's lots of stuff like that that I do with the car that I don't actually bother with normally. But the thing is with the car is that, you know, because I'm not somebody who constantly goes on long trips completely, you know, filling the car up with junk, I keep the car very neat and tidy and then just have the boot organised and, you know, like the gas mask satchel under a seat kind of thing, just so it's set up ready to go. I mean, a car is a very convenient way, especially if you have your own car, of just setting up a permanent kind of survival kit in it. I'm pretty sure the M3, it might even be a licensed copy of an M40. Notice down there, there's a disclaimer. If it wasn't too expensive, I buy most deactivated things. It's just a lot of them, especially things like L85s for whatever reason, end up being like over $1,000 for a deactivated rifle, which I'm not going to pay. I'm saying that the SLRs now are like $1,000 for a deactivated one. When I got that, it was like £400, and that's over the course of like 6 years or so that they've gone up like twice the price they used to be. Yeah, it is a Pascat helmet. It's the British Armed Police one. If you search British Police Commando helmets into Google, you'll see the various types that get made. There's a few different designs. Hang on, I might be able to get the website up that makes these, because they have a few of the different designs on there. Right, yeah, what I can do actually, this will be an easy way of doing it. If I look at the label in here, it's made by MLA. So if I search MLA Commando Helmet, alright, here we go. Then, here we go. What I can do now is I can link you to the page where they... Well, you won't be able to buy from these, because this is obviously like the site the police use, but you can basically see what the UK Armed Police uses if you go on that one. So if you look at these, I'm pretty sure the one I've got is the standard one, which is just the one that says Commando, and it's the one in the picture. Then you've got the one with the ear bits that come out the side, sort of there. I don't have that model, but that again looks like a Pasket with the extended ear bits. Then you've got the Special Ops one, or is that the lightweight one, which is, no, I think the Special Ops one is the really small one, isn't it? That's not got anything at the side. Or is that the Mitch helmet? No, the Mitch helmet is the one, isn't it? Then, annoyingly, the pictures aren't in the same order as the text. But, yeah, maybe the Commando lightweight is the standard one then. And then the Mitch helmet is the one with the bits that stick out the side. I think that would probably be it, but I'm not too sure. What's the point in spending that much money on a helmet when you can buy a Kevlar helmet like this for £30 to £50? Unless you're getting like a proper modern, like the people are on about, the advanced combat helmets that aren't even made from Kevlar, or one of the titanium helmets, I really don't see why you'd want to spend that much on one. I'm already a UKIP member though, Mike. I wouldn't want to be betraying UKIP by being in another party. That's the problem. There seems to be a bit too much divide and conquer stuff with different stuff like that. What class is the helmet? It's Kevlar 3A, which is pretty much the best protection you're ever going to get from a regular Kevlar helmet. Because the problem with Kevlar is you have to keep making it thicker and thicker to get the better ratings. So like Kevlar 2A, level 2, and then 3A is like what you can practically have in a standard helmet. When you go beyond that, and same with like Kevlar vests, you can't really get like a proper level 3 Kevlar helmet or vest because of how thick the Kevlar would need to be. Yeah, Exotic Rage, that's what I guessed looking at the pictures. It's because obviously the pictures on that page are not in the order that the write-up is down the side. Like, obviously the tactical goggles are at the bottom on the thing, and the tactical goggles are on the bottom on the pictures, so that's fine. But yeah, like, the Mitch helmet is near the bottom of all the list of them, but it's the second picture on the thing. So, you know, it's a bit random like that, but all of these helmets will be fine. This is absolutely fine for what I'd actually ever need in a helmet. Yeah, the titanium, the Altins or Outlins or whatever they're called, aren't they? I mean, as well as going above 3A, those modern US helmets do that as well, and that's because they're made from those thermoplastics, not Kevlar. But yeah, with Kevlar, you're not really getting beyond 3A in a helmet. Maybe eBay, but I don't really know other than that, I'm afraid, for buying surplus. Most helmets, like 3A Kevlar helmets, will stop a pistol round point blank, because these can stop things like 357 Magnum being 3A. So yeah, 9mm and 45 has no chance of going through these unless there's a flaw in the helmet. No, I'm not actually an expert on the name of all the Russian helmets. I always just think of them, you know, them of the Russian titanium helmet range. I know there's a load of different ones with different, like, face guards and whatever, but... Exactly, yeah, because they have, like, a number thing like that, I'd never remember it. Take it you work for GCS, not GCS, GCHQ then, Soviet films. As in, like, the camo covers for helmets. I've got the Flecton one for this helmet. Obviously, this isn't the cover that came with it. It didn't come with a cover because the British Armed Police don't have covers on theirs other than, like, police velcroed on there or whatever. Because the German helmets, again, are very similar to Pasca helmets, their covers fit on these helmets. So I've got... Right, I'm pretty sure I have a Desert MTP camo cover for my Mark 6 helmet. My Mark 7 helmet has an MTP cover, so that's 1, 2. The Flecton one for this one, that's 3, and then I'm pretty sure my old USM1 helmet has a Woodland cover on it, I think, even though I've not got that on it. Even though it's not a US Woodland one, it was like a Norwegian or a Danish one, but it was basically surplus. No, I've never been to the US, sadly. I want to go at some point, but I've never got round to it yet. It depends what country you're in and everything, Yogi, but in the UK you can get Kevlar helmets in the £30 to £50 range if you buy the police surplus. I'm assuming some sort of woodland camo, probably. Woo. I don't actually know without looking too hard, but I imagine if Ireland is probably going to be mostly green, isn't it? Woodland or whatever. No, I don't use face paints because where I get like eczema and like dodgy skin stuff, putting face paints on can cause all my like face to inflame. And again, I'm just going to say to people, or is it on that side? Yeah, it's on that side. Right? No, it is that side, isn't it? I'm not going to keep mentioning the politics kind of stuff over and over and over again, but the Falklands was British territory, so obviously we had to defend it. Is that Swedish M90 camo you're on about? Yeah, it's an interesting design, isn't it? It's the one that's like really rectangular or whatever, like with the really straight lines. Number 1, yeah, SMLE number 1 Mark III. But not number 4 Mark 1 or 2, which are the really famous SMLEs. How will they, exactly will they pester me? Well, weirdly, mate, look what I'm wearing in this video. Well, I've got two bits on. I've got French riot armour on the arms, which obviously is designed to protect your arms from people hitting you with like batons and rocks and sticks and things like that. And then I've got British Police stab resistant and bullet resistant level 2 armour on, which, as its name implies, is designed to stop knives and like pistol rounds. Yeah, that's the reason Canada doesn't sell their military surplus anymore, apparently, even though other companies can just literally make the exact same stuff and sell it on the surplus market. One thing I like about these arm pads, though, on here, is that when I've got my arm on the armrest for the chair, it's a lot more comfortable than normal because you've got more padding between your arm and the armrests. I'm pretty sure it would say like police and maybe maybe an identification number. So if there's footage of like the police officer shooting somebody or whatever, then they can check which officer it was if they've got a balaclava on or something. Helmet, this and this were all from eBay. But yeah, if you Google British Armed Police, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to see what kind of stuff they've normally got on the helmets. The ones that are actually in helmets anyway, not just wearing the caps. Most of them, it looks like it just says police on the very front of their helmets, but some of them have like just dark blue covers on anyway. It was somewhere between £30 and £50. I can't remember the exact amount now, but it definitely wasn't over 50, and I don't think it was even 40. So maybe it was £39.99, £35, something like that. You can actually buy bomb squad armour and the diffusal vests and all that on eBay, but they're just so bulky, and they don't really offer all that much in layers of protection. Supposedly, one of the main things those vests are designed to do is protect you from very small explosions, or just to keep your body intact enough they can ID your, corpse if a bomb goes off. My favourite bow. I generally prefer crossbows to normal bows, just because I can shoot them better, because I'm not that good as an archer. My favourite crossbow might be my Jandao Chasewind. I also end up using my £40 crossbow quite a lot, just because a low draw weight crossbow is actually fun to use. No, I don't have a standard police helmet, I just have this one. I've got no interest in pretending to be a normal cop. Don't pretend to be anybody, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I don't have the standard Metropolitan police helmets, whatever you mean, like the black plastic ones with the police logo on them. Yeah, let me have a look, Mike. Yep, that's the exact helmet. So yeah, if you wanted to get the exact helmet I'm wearing, it's yeah, about £40 plus postage. This one I've already said. I don't think you could actually wear a plate carrier and not be spotted wearing it. Plate carriers are pretty bulky. No, only armed police carry firearms in the UK, or police guarding certain places such as the nuclear police and things like that. No, but you could get a purple cover on it, Peach, if you wanted a purple cover on it. I'm sure they exist. But regular police carry sort of tasers and pepper spray, but they don't carry pistols. What, like the bearskin caps, if you're on about those? I haven't played Overwatch in ages. I have played Overwatch before, but I've not played that in absolutely ages. Everywhere's got bad police. I don't think your average cop is all that bad, but the problem is lots of police have to follow, you know, really stupid orders a lot of the time. Yeah, like for a covert vest, you're going to want something even smaller than the Kevlar vest I've got on under the French riot armour stuff. You can wear this one covertly under like a jacket, but you can't wear it under a t-shirt. If you want to get a covert Kevlar vest, they exist, but you generally have to pay more for them. Because obviously the more slimline they make the jacket, the better made it has to be to offer the same level of protection. Yeah, nuclear power plant guards. They're actually, it's done by the police though, not by like security firms. I think they're called something like the nuclear constabulary or something like that. But yeah, they're like a special branch of the armed police that are literally there to guard power plants. I don't like cheek filter gas masks. I think I've covered that quite a lot of times. It's not a film, it's a TV series. How many times? It's made by HBO and it's going to be like 5 or 6 episodes. Each one coming out a week after the last one. I can only review a mask if I get hold of it, and I don't have a Scott M95 at the moment, so the answer is no. Same goes for any mask I don't currently have. No, as in nuclear power plant. It's an acronym. Let me search which coat that is, Peach, because off the top of my head I can't. Oh, it's the one they used before the M65, isn't it? Can't you just get an M65 coat, Peach? They're a lot cheaper to get an M65 and they look really similar. It depends which way the wind's blowing and if it's an air burst or a ground burst. But yeah, have you ever used the thing called Nuke Map? Because that's quite interesting. Let me get it up. Yeah, so that's Nuke Map. So, for example, on Nuke Map, you could go to London, England. Let's do a yield. So, let's say London is hit by a Dongfang 5, China's current ICBM, 5 megatons. So 5 megatons is pretty big. And we'll do a casualties report and a fallout report. So first we'll say it's airbursted. And there's not going to be much fallout from an airburst because, you know, the fireball is in the air. So it would kill 2.2 million people and injure another 3.6 million people, but there wouldn't be much radiation. Now, but let's say it's a ground burst, not an air burst. If that happened, the fatalities are, when the numbers stop rolling, 1.6 million, and the injuries are 2.245 million. However, depending on where the wind blows, you could have radiation going across pretty much any part of the UK mainland. Now, in Ireland, you'd pretty much be safe, because let's say you're in Northern Ireland, according to this, you'd only get hit by the very, smallest part of the radiation carried by the wind. Same for Northern Scotland, they wouldn't get really any. But, you know, where I am in England, in the sort of South Midlands, if there was a ground burst over London, I'd be glowing, I should think. They did use some of the other Chernobyl reactors for quite a long time after the Chernobyl disaster. Was it reactor 1 to 3 they still used? Because reactor 5 hadn't been constructed and reactor number 4 was the one that blew up. So I think reactor 1 to 3 was still used for quite a while just to generate more power. Somebody on there went to all the effort of actually using a Soviet strike map for the UK during like the 80s or something that they got hold of when the Soviet Union collapsed, and they plotted every single Soviet air and ground burst on the map. You know, we'd been totally screwed as the answer to it, but it's just quite funny. But they had something like 7+ bombs targeted on London, and I imagine one of those would have been the 25 megaton bomb they had. What was that one called? It's not on here, but if you do a Dongfang 5 and then you add a 2 in front of the actual yield, so you get 25 megatons, then we assume that the wind is blowing sort of northwest. Oh dear, oh dear. I don't think much is going to be alive in the UK. But yeah, the Soviets did have a 25 megaton warhead missile, but they mostly used the smaller yield ones. But yeah, London had something like 7+ nukes assigned to it because they, you know, really wanted to make sure they wiped London out. No, Tsar Bomber is the test nuke they did. Tsar Bomb was 50 megatons and it could have been 100 megatons. But what this one I'm on about is like the highest yield actual Soviet warhead they put on nuclear missiles. Most of the warheads weren't that big. Tsar Bomb was only literally they made one Tsar Bomb just to you know, demonstrate that they could do it basically. But yeah, you can do Tsar Bomb on Nuke Map. For example, Tsar Bomb, if that was the actual Tsar Bomb they did make, if that was ground burst on the UK in London, that would kill like nearly 6 million people from just a ground burst. Oh, sorry, no, it's doing an air burst at the moment. But then let's say they dropped the theoretical Tsar Bomb, because the casing supposedly could have enough radioactive material in it to be 100 megatons. If that was airburst over London, that would be... numbers are still rolling up. Oh, it's still, again, just nearly 6 million. I guess the reason for that is that because the airburst... because once you go past a certain, you know, urban area, everybody's just going to be dead anyway, aren't they? I mean, whether or not you had, like, Tsar Bomb airburst between 2 major cities, you might actually inflict more casualties, but on London itself, I suppose once you wipe out all of London, you've not got too many houses until you get to the next big urban area. Oh, they could make even bigger bombs than SAR bomb, technically. If you buried a nuclear bomb, there's no limit to the size. That's what nuclear mines were, where you could literally, you know, put hundreds and hundreds of megatons underground and just detonate them. What's that, SpongeBob, about the helmet? Right, let's look. If they ground burst a 50 megaton bomb on London and the wind was blowing away from the UK, where would it go? Oh, you'd actually be alright in Italy, because the wind wouldn't be able to take all the dust that far. It would get to Milan, and then you'd be alright. It wouldn't quite reach Venice. Definitely wouldn't get to Rome. You'd just about get the last of the fallout in Milan, apparently. Because there was a thing called the Cold War, where everybody was pointing nukes at each other. Well, I've already got loads of helmets, but I thought I'd start this stream off wearing a helmet, just because I thought it'd look good. And I started the stream off with the gas mask on as well, because I thought all this stuff together would look good with the riot armour. I suppose you can probably use Nuke Map as well to do very low yield, high radiation outputs to work out, like, nuclear power plant failures. This is a Kevlar 3A helmet, so basically any kind of pistol round, but not really rifle rounds. I mean, they also had things called neutron bombs, which are incredibly radioactive, small yield nukes. And the idea of those were basically that you would kill loads and loads of people using radiation, but the like structures wouldn't be damaged. There is a way on Nuke Map you can add more things in at once, because as I said, somebody did that by working out what would have happened to the UK if we'd been hit by all the Soviet weapons they wanted to hit us with. But if you actually had a mutually assured destruction scenario, it's pretty much what it says on the tin. You know, if every major city and major town and airfield and military base were all hit by, you know, nukes ranging from the kiloton to megaton range, you wouldn't really have much life left on Earth left. Especially not when all the crap goes into the atmosphere. Wow, a biological weapon in theory could be more dangerous than a nuke, at least a singular nuke. Because if you think about things like the Black Death and the Great Plague, you know, historical outbreaks of really bad viruses or bacteria, or if you think about the Spanish flu from, you know, around the time at the end of World War I, the Spanish flu in 1918 killed about 100 million people, or over the course of a few years killed about 100 million people. So, in theory, a genetically engineered virus or something like that is actually more likely to wipe out everything on Earth. There's debate about that, and because hopefully we're never going to find out for real Super Travis Bickle, we won't know. Well, I'd hope we never find out. There's debate among scientists, and they argue amongst themselves of it, so you can't really ask somebody like me to explain that to you, because I'm not an expert. And the experts can't even agree on it. But it wouldn't be pretty, whatever would happen, I would think would be the answer to that. I wanted to go to Chernobyl quite a few times. We were planning on it a few years ago, and then there was, like, you know, the Ukrainian civil war, EU and Russian interference in Ukraine, and all that sort of stuff, and then I've not been because of that, because at the time lots of the flights were cancelled to Ukraine after that Malaysian Airlines flight was shot down. You know, and it was all that sort of stuff. So I think you can actually go again now, and it's not a problem. We've just never really thought about doing it again. But the next place I want to go to is America anyway. Well, if you were in an area that was hit with VX and you were exposed to VX, you'd die. That's the answer to that. With pretty much all of these WMD style weapons, if you're in the area one goes off, you're doomed. Yeah, a lot of the animals now are coping with the radiation, but the radiation in Chernobyl is very low in most areas. It's just in certain areas still that it's high, like where the elephant's foot is and bits of the reactor. That's still very high, but in most of the surrounding countryside areas, the radiation isn't much higher than background levels. Just because obviously most of the radiation is concentrated now on the contaminated stuff rather than the actual, environment. Well, if I went to America, I'd definitely go shooting. That's one of the reasons I want to go to America. I am become death, destroyer of worlds was the good Oppenheimer quote, which he quoted from some Indian thing, wasn't it, after the Trinity test. Yeah, I've shot as well as air rifles, if you mean like actual firearms. I think it was a 20 bore shotgun, like a single barrel, break barrel shotgun, and a 22 long rifle bolt action. And I can't tell you what the model of guns were, and if it was when I had the YouTube channel I'd have filmed it, but we used to know some people who lived on a farm. So they had a couple of guns, and I just, one day we were around visiting their family, they let me fire a couple of shots through those, but that was before I was actually really interested in guns. That's the problem. So if I ever got the opportunity like that again now, I'd obviously film it to put on YouTube, but I didn't at the time, because this is probably going back to sometime like 2010 maybe, something like that. Well, it's not just Oppenheimer. There was lots of people involved in the Manhattan Project, and if they hadn't done it, somebody else would have invented nuclear weapons a bit, later on. I've shown in videos how to get the talcum powder out of gas masks. Oh, that's cool, Peach, yeah. Definitely, if you found an M51 jacket for £69 and you want it, get one. If you had the gas mask and the NBC suit on before the VX was dropped or whatever, you'd be alright, especially if you knew to get out the area fast enough and decontaminate properly. But obviously the issue is, if you don't have the gear on before the VX goes off, then no, because it's going to contact your skin. And if you don't take the gear off properly, you risk contaminating yourself as you remove the gear, so your chances aren't very good against nerve agents, to be honest. No, the closest I can speak to another language is German, and I can't speak good German. So when I was in Germany, I could say things like, "Mein Deutsch ist nicht gut, sprechen Sie English, danke?" And stuff like that, but I couldn't actually speak German properly. Yeah, and there's also all the molten fuel rods and bits of the reactor that went through the ground as well. Yeah, I've been to loads of castles. I've been to that one in Poland that's technically the world's biggest castle, the one that's near, Gdansk. But that's like a brick castle, not like a stone castle. I've been to Warwick Castle and quite a few other castles in the UK as well. And I've been to castles in Germany and Austria and wherever else. Right, I'll go for a bit longer, but it depends how many interesting questions I'm getting, because if the questions slow down too much, I'll stop with the stream, because I'm quite fancy getting a drink now. I don't really mind too much, it's more just the idea of shooting stuff. But probably something like an AR-15, an AKM kind of thing. I'm not too fussy really, but it's more just to get the experience of doing it on a range with actual kind of stuff. Well, the 3 types of tea I'm most likely to drink would be, first, what you'd either call black or red tea, which is like what when people think of tea, that's tea. Second most likely would be green tea, and then third most likely would be Earl Grey. I'm not opposed to trying other types of tea, but I generally haven't. But I mean, the thing is, when you say tea, pretty much anything brewed in hot water could be considered tea. So there's other stuff I've had as well that's, I guess you could call tea, that's not, you know, tea leaf kind of tea. But yeah, the general kind of tea I have is like black tea, which is typical kind of tea. Well, I imagine they would be common in Serbia if that's the country they're from, but the problem with lots of stuff like that is once you're outside the country, they're not common. It's like when people moan at me saying, oh, why do you say the S10 you can get one for like £30 on the surplus market? I can't get one in my country for that price. Yes, because you're not in the UK. Yeah, English breakfast tea pretty much is the same thing, isn't it? But Yorkshire tea, I've got 2 packets of Yorkshire tea at the moment. Most of the rest of my family drinks PG Tips, but I prefer Yorkshire tea, so it means the boxes last me ages because I have Yorkshire tea. Well, the thing is, what's annoying, there used to be a range near me that allowed shooting, like, you know, you could turn up for a day as long as you followed all the safety advice, you just rent and pay for the ammo and everything. And they did historical firearm shooting, so like muskets, Lee Enfields, you know, Moss and the Gants, things like that. But then sadly that's not there anymore, because I looked into joining that one, and they're not there anymore. The only gun club near me is one that does 22 long rifle shooting at something like 10 yards on a scorecard, which really doesn't interest me very much. What's the difference between an FM12 and an FM12? The serial number, I would guess. I'm around the Oxford area, but I'm not going to specify it any more than that. At some point, like I said, at some point I go to Chernobyl, but I'm not in a rush to do it because it's not going anywhere. So, yeah, like I said, I will definitely go at some point, but I want to go to America first. And I'm not going on holiday this year, as I've said before, because I've already been using my holiday dates up from work for certain things, and I've been I'm going to order a new PC for like video editing and everything when the new AMD processors come out, so it would be next year at the minimum, I think, before I go on a proper holiday again. Right, an FM12 and a CT12. CT12 doesn't have a drinking tube is the main difference. All CT12s, as far as I'm aware, you can put the filter on either side. Some model of FM12s you can't do that. But the main difference is the CT12 doesn't have the drinking tube, and it's specifically designed not to have the drinking tube, so it's not like there's just a hole they filled in. It's got a completely different part set where the drinking tube would be. Yeah, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with 22 long rifle, Aaron. What my point is that I'm a lot more interested in shooting things like that rather than scoring really, really tight groups. Yeah, and things like that, exactly. Yeah, 2 of my friends do 22 long rifle shooting and PCP air rifle shooting as well. And they can shoot very tight groups, you know, they're very good in terms of marksmanship. It's just personally I don't find the idea all that interesting of being in a range and shooting very tight groups, you know, at a very close range. And I'm not saying that, as I said, they're very skilled shooters, it's just I find the idea a lot more interested at shooting 400, 500 yards like they used to do at this gun range with things like Lee Enfields, because it's more about, you know, just simply being able to see and hit a target that far away. Well, I know what they're actually for. I don't know what you mean, what do I think of them. The point of number stations was to relay information to spies during the Cold War, or like other wars, where the idea was that they could have a book or something like that, and the numbers would correspond to pages or like paragraphs in a book, and it meant that because you could, you know, change the number station very easily, it wasn't like a proper code book. It meant that they were pretty much impossible to crack, because you need the same edition and whatever of the book the spy was given and then you could just simply stop transmitting it if they got caught. I don't know. I know that the SF-10 was built in enough numbers, but I don't know if it was made in like very limited batches or what. Yeah, I've seen ones on hills, I think, Super Travis Bickle, where he's shown one like shooting up a hill or something. The only problem if you're doing that here, Mike, would be that you'd have to reload the shotgun after every 3 shells, wouldn't you? Because pumps here are restricted and autos are restricted to 3 rounds. See you, Peach, if you're off. I'll probably be on another 5 to 10 minutes, I imagine. Right, don't forget to like the stream, everybody, if you've been on and you haven't liked the stream yet. And don't forget to check out the merchandise below, because some people ask for certain designs and they're there now. Yes, I do own air rifles. Yeah, there might be ways you can get around the free thing, but I know on an SGC you're limited to 3 rounds, Mike. Right, so what I've got coming this week on eBay, if it all comes in time, is should be here by tomorrow, but another pair of waterproof trousers like the ones I've got on, or like water resistant trousers, because what they actually are is the ones made mostly from polyester, so they're very water resistant, but they're actually fairly comfortable, where I don't like PVC over trousers very much. Some car windshield ticket holders, that's pretty boring, it won't interest anybody on YouTube. But you know, they're the ones so you can stick one in your windshield, then whenever you've got a parking ticket or anything like that, you can slot them in there rather than trying to balance them on the dashboard. And hopefully it should either be coming tomorrow or Friday, my MTP Osprey plate carrier with all the bits for it. Could also do one, Mike, couldn't you, where you run around with a sword and you've got like milk jugs or whatever on different poles or bins or something, so you run along, slash, run to the next one, slash, run to the next one, slash, like an obstacle course with a sword. That'd be quite good. What, do you mean like the Bren carrier, ARP Warden? Because I know the universal carrier, like the Bren carrier kind of thing, which they put Bren guns in World War II, if that's the one you're on about. Or do you mean something else? Yeah, that'd be alright if you had, you know, like an empty cheek filter just for cosplay, I suppose. I wouldn't have much use for it myself, but I think Osprey's just a series of stuff, isn't it, though? Like, because where is it? Yeah, it should be down here somewhere. Like, this series of British Army canteens are known as Osprey canteens, even though they're not all actually. This is one that predates the Osprey kind of naming thing they did on it, but this design of the canteen with the Avon connector cap on were the like Osprey canteens, and then you had yeah, like the Osprey armor, and you've got, yeah, like the Osprey backpacks and things like that. I don't have a K63 helmet, so I can't tell you my thoughts on them, but I think they look cool anyway. Yeah, the valves are very cool. Right, see you, Richard. But yeah, if you could sort that out, Mike, you could have Zombit as the final boss, I guess, at the end. So yeah, you could run around going with, like, when you're sabers or something, or when you're knives. Or maybe doing some throwing knives on the way as well. And then, yeah, when you get to Zombit, you have to put a bayonet through him, or the Fairbairn Sykes or something. That'd be quite good, I reckon. But yeah, it'd depend if your garden's in the right shape for it as well. As far as I'm aware, the Stalker gas masks are completely fake. It's just literally a PBF. They put the filters on and no cheeks. I think my PBF is size 3. In Soviet masks, I always tend to be size 2 or 3. And I'm sort of between sizes, which is a bit annoying. So size 3 can feel a bit loose, size 2 can feel a bit tight. Yeah, I'm sure there's probably some way you could fit up. You don't have to do it exactly like I said, Mike. It's just like one of those things where, you know, you might be able to set up like a little obstacle course to use the weapons. But yeah, you'd have to have a think about how you'd want to do it and how you could make sure it's quite safe. But yeah, I'm sure you could do something like that if you wanted to. In terms of hoops, in terms of, do you mean if I wanted to migrate to America? If I wanted to go to America on holiday, none. I don't think you even need a visa to go from the US to the UK on holiday. So that wouldn't be a problem at all. It's if you want to go to the US as a citizen, you know, like to emigrate there, you have to either pay, I think it's $500,000 to buy citizenship from the US government, or you have to be in certain criteria of what they want for somebody to emigrate there. And typically, if you're an average sort of person from Western Europe, there's nothing on there that qualifies you to move to the US. Because I know somebody who actually goes to the US a lot on business, and he has like some sort of visa thing where he can be there for a certain amount of months, but he always has to go back to the UK. Even though like his company, I think, is like, you know, a multinational company, and he works for, you know, them in the UK and the US, but it's like one of those silly things where he's not actually permanently able to stay in the US even when he does it for a job kind of thing. Because we had some mass shootings and the politicians decided to ban the guns. Basically, that's what it boils down to. Yeah, I've done a collaboration video, I'm pretty sure, Weapon Collector before. We did a collaboration stream. Right, I tell you what, I will go for 6 more minutes, so the stream is for exactly an hour and a half, and then I will finish up. So as we've got 5 and a bit minutes left, if you think of any good questions, ask the questions, or whatever. Well, what you could do, Techstorm, is see if you can put the mask on something to stretch it ever so slightly, and then try it on again after it's been put on something for a while. Because like with these sort of masks, if you had some kind of thing to, you know, put the mask on so it did that with it for a bit, you could leave it on something like that for a while, and then it loses a bit of its elasticity, or whatever you want to call it, so it would fit you a bit better. Right, with my PC, I want to get a new PC, as I was saying earlier in the stream, because currently mine's quite outdated. Some of the components in it are more outdated than others, but in general I just want to get... What I basically want to do is when the new series of AMD CPUs come out, I want to get something, you know, one of the new CPUs, so I'm properly jumping forward in technology. And I just want to, you know, spend a load of money at once and get a good pre-built so I don't have to worry about anything with the computer. But my current PC, it's an FX 9590 CPU, which is one of the old AMD 8-core ones, where it uses a massive amount of power and generates a massive amount of heat, but it is very good for video rendering. It's kind of just like a brute force CPU. It's not like intelligently hyper-threaded or anything like that. The GPU is an RX 480, and saying that, that's still been able to play most games at 1080p between 30 and 60 FPS. So the GPU isn't all that bad, even though I'd obviously get a better one if I'm getting a new PC. It's DDR3 for the RAM, so that's pretty outdated now because everybody's been on DDR4 RAM for a while. So yeah, the PC is pretty outdated anyway. Yeah, it'd be good to do another collab stream, Mike. You'd have to just let me know on an evening one day, like on a Thursday or something, when it'd be good, or Monday, or... No, I can't do Monday evenings now, can I at the moment, but on a Thursday or whatever, when it would be convenient, we could sort that out over Twitter and then do one. But I enjoy those, because when you're talking to somebody else as well as the audience, you don't run out of things to say as much, do you? Because you don't have to worry too much about... you know, you're not waiting ages for questions to come in. Yeah, I've played War Thunder, I don't play it anymore, but I got, like, down most of the tech tree with, like, the Russians and, I think it was Britain, and actually America. But yeah, I got quite far. I'd never got quite far into the Japanese tech tree, but with quite a few of the nations, didn't get all that far in Germany's tech tree either. You know, I got quite into the tech trees on that, but, I just got bored of it in the end, and I had, like, a bad experience with Gaijin customer service that put me off the game. I've seen a few of Demolition Ranch's videos, but I sort of doubt he'd collab with a small UK creator like me compared to him. Yeah, size 4 Soviet masks do seem a lot rarer. It's probably they just didn't produce as many in like the far edge sizes, you know, like the 2s and 3s are probably the most mass produced because that would fit the most people. You'd have to name a genre, Oscar, then I can tell you my favourite film from that genre. Do you know which part of the UK they're from, Aaron? Or they were from? I don't really vlog, to be honest, but if I went somewhere cool, I normally film it. Ah, that's very cool, Moink Pan, thank you. I appreciate it. Personally, if I had something like the flu, I'd want something a bit stronger than me to get me through the day. But, you know. But yeah, like if I went somewhere like Chernobyl or somewhere in the US, I'd definitely film that and put a video up on it. Yeah, but I wondered if you knew what part of England, like Yorkshire sort of area or somewhere down the south or what. You know, a bit like in the US you might say what state was somebody from. I'm just kind of wondering what county sort of thing. Well, it's not really either. I mean, it is British technically because it's the British Armed Police helmet, but they're just US Pascat helmet made under license. So it's basically a US military helmet just made under a license of the British Armed Police. So yeah, closest thing is a SWAT helmet, basically. Yeah, to what you're saying. It's like what British SWAT teams would use. Well, I said Demo Ranch probably wouldn't want to do a collab with a small channel like me. I'm more of a Paul Harrell kind of guy, anyway. Well, compared to me, right, I'll just finish up now on the questions because it's gone on for an hour and a half this stream. Thanks for watching, everybody. In terms of masks I can't wear, I won't wear any damaged masks that are really rare and old because I don't want to make them fall apart anymore. Like my Japanese World War II mask, that's in awful condition, I don't want to make it fall apart anymore. Like children's masks that are in really small sizes simply because they won't fit me. But yeah, it's basically if it's a really rare mask or a damaged mask or it's too small, they're the only reasons I wouldn't ever wear one. Because if it's got an asbestos filter and I wanted to do it for a video, I'd just hold my breath. But anyway, yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. This has been a pretty good stream for the most part when I've had all the questions coming in. So tomorrow's Thursday. I'll be streaming tomorrow evening. Tomorrow, I'm hopefully seeing one of my friends, so he should be able to help me film 2 videos. One where I get to test this armour, where I'll get him to hit me with the armour on, and hopefully he won't permanently break anything. I'll tell him not to hit me here, because there's not a pad. But you can hit me like there or there. Shoulder bits are probably the best, because that would do the least damage anyway, getting hit in the shoulder. So that's going to be one of the videos, and the other one I want to do another video of the riot shield. Holding the riot shield with all the armour on, and getting him to hit that with, I don't think we've used the bill hook on the riot shield yet, so we use the bill hook on it, probably the mace, because I don't, no, I have done the mace versus the riot shield, haven't I? Yeah, I've done the mace versus the riot shield. Okay then, I won't do, maybe the flail, because I don't know if that's been, maybe one of the swords, but I'd have to think carefully about which sword, because I wouldn't want to permanently damage the sword. But yeah, maybe the arming sword there, something like that, get him to thrust and chop at it a few times. But yeah, thanks for watching everybody, and I will see you next time I do a stream, which will probably be tomorrow night at some point.